The Koh-i-Noor is not just a diamond. It is a 105-carat fragment of history that has witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. For over 7 centuries, it has traveled through the hands of emperors, warriors, and kings, leaving a trail of blood in its wake. But behind its blinding brilliance lies a terrifying Hindu legend that dates back to the year 1306. The legend warns, "He who owns this diamond will own the world, but will also know all its misfortunes." Crucially, the prophecy adds, only God or a woman can wear it with impunity. History shows that for every man who wore the Koh-i-Noor, the result was betrayal, torture, or the total collapse of his dynasty. The story of the diamond begins in the deep, dark mines of Golconda, India, a place known for producing the world's most legendary stones. In those ancient times, it was believed that diamonds were the tears of gods, possessed with supernatural powers. The Kakatiya dynasty of South India were the first recorded owners of this magnificent stone, placing it as the eye of a deity in a temple. However, once the diamond was removed from the divine and placed on the crown of a mortal man, the bloodbath began. In the early 13th century, the Sultan of Delhi, Alauddin Khilji, invaded the south with a singular goal: to plunder the fabled wealth of the Kakatiyas. The Khilji dynasty took the diamond by force, but they were the first to feel the weight of its curse. The dynasty soon spiraled into chaos, marked by internal assassinations and the brutal overthrow of their leaders. The diamond then passed to the Tughlaq dynasty, who faced a similar fate of instability and violent ends. For hundreds of years, the Koh-i-Noor stayed in the shadows of the Delhi Sultanate, moving from one ill-fated ruler to another. By the time the Mughal Empire rose to power in the 16th century, the diamond was ready for its most glamorous and deadly era. Babur, the founder of the Mughal Empire, acquired the stone after his victory at the Battle of Panipat. He described it in his memoirs as a gem so valuable that its price could feed the entire world for 2.5 days. Yet even Babur sensed something ominous about the stone, referring to it as the Diamond of Babur, but rarely wearing it himself. The diamond reached its height of fame under Shah Jahan, the man who built the Taj Mahal. Shah Jahan commissioned the famous Peacock Throne, a golden masterpiece encrusted with thousands of jewels. The Koh-i-Noor was placed at the very top of this throne, staring down at all who entered the Mughal court. But as the diamond's sparkle grew, Shah Jahan's world began to crumble. His own son, Aurangzeb, betrayed him, imprisoned him in the Agra fort, and executed his other brothers. Shah Jahan spent his final years of his life looking at the Taj Mahal through a window, a prisoner of the very power he sought to symbolize. Aurangzeb, a ruthless leader, was the next male owner of the stone, and under his reign, the empire began to overstretch and fracture. After Aurangzeb's death, the Mughal Empire entered a period of rapid decline, leaving it vulnerable to foreign invaders. In 1739, the Persian ruler Nadir Shah invaded Delhi, leading a massacre that left the streets flowing with blood. Nadir Shah was obsessed with finding the legendary diamond, which the Mughal Emperor Muhammad Shah had hidden in his turban. Legend says a member of the harem betrayed the secret, and Nadir Shah cleverly used a tradition of turban swapping to steal the gem. When Nadir Shah first unrolled the turban and saw the diamond, he exclaimed, "Koh-i-Noor," which means mountain of light in Persian. From that moment, the diamond had a name, but Nadir Shah did not have peace. Shortly after returning to Persia with his loot, Nadir Shah was assassinated by his own officers in his sleep. The diamond was then snatched by his general, Ahmad Shah Abdali, who took it to Afghanistan. The curse followed Abdali's descendants, leading to a cycle of blinding, poisoning, and civil war within the Afghan royal family. By 1813, the diamond returned to India, finding its way to the Lion of Punjab, Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Maharaja Ranjit Singh was a powerful and wise ruler who seemed to temporarily tame the diamond's energy. However, on his deathbed, Ranjit Singh tried to donate the diamond to the Jagannath temple to appease the gods. His ministers refused to carry out his wish, keeping the diamond for the Sikh Empire. Within just 4 years of Ranjit Singh's death, 3 of his successors were murdered or died mysteriously. The Sikh Empire, once invincible, fell into a bloody struggle for the throne. The final male owner in India was the child king Maharaja Dulip Singh, who was only 5 years old when he took the throne. He would be the last man to ever wear the Koh-i-Noor on Indian soil, before the British Empire arrived to claim it. The curse was about to cross the oceans and find a new home in the heart of London. But the British, unlike the Mughals or the Persians, had a secret strategy to deal with the gem's deadly reputation. They knew that if the gem remained in the hands of a king, the empire might fall. And so, a new chapter began where the diamond would be tamed by the power of a woman. The year was 1849, and the British East India Company had finally crushed the Sikh Empire in the Second Anglo-Sikh War. The Treaty of Lahore was drafted, and Article 6 of that treaty was dedicated to a single object, the Koh-i-Noor diamond. It stated that the gem must be surrendered by the child Maharaja Dalip Singh to the Queen of England. Dalip Singh, only 11 years old, was forced to sign away his kingdom and the most precious symbol of his heritage. The diamond was handed over to Lord Dalhousie, the Governor-General of India, who was determined to deliver it to Queen Victoria personally. Dalhousie was a man of logic and empire, but even he felt an inexplicable weight while carrying the stone. He placed the diamond in a small, inconspicuous chamois leather bag and sewed it into a pocket in his belt. He kept his hand on his belt day and night, haunted by the fear that the stone would be stolen or lost. But the real drama began when the diamond was placed aboard the HMS Medea for its long voyage to London. The ship set sail from Bombay on April 6, 1850, carrying the diamond and a crew that was about to experience the curse firsthand. Only a few days into the journey, a deadly outbreak of cholera erupted on the ship. Men who were perfectly healthy in the morning were dead by the afternoon. The crew was terrified, whispering that they were carrying a devil's stone that was killing them one by one. When the ship reached Mauritius, the local inhabitants were so afraid of the cholera that they refused to let the crew disembark. The residents even threatened to open fire on the HMS Medea if it did not leave their waters immediately. As the ship sailed on, it was struck by a massive freak hurricane that lasted for 18 hours. The masts creaked and the waves towered over the vessel, threatening to swallow the diamond back into the depths of the ocean. Lord Dalhousie later wrote that he believed the ship was doomed, yet miraculously, the Medea survived. When the ship finally docked at Plymouth, England, the relief was palpable, but the diamond's arrival was met with an eerie atmosphere. On July 3, 1850, the Koh-i-Noor was officially presented to Queen Victoria at Buckingham Palace. The Queen was fascinated by its history, but the British public was initially disappointed by its appearance. At that time, the diamond was in its ancient Mughal-style cut, which prioritized size over brilliance. It looked dull to the Victorian eye, which was accustomed to the high sparkle, brilliant cut of European jewelry. Prince Albert, Victoria's husband, decided that the diamond must be recut to unlock its true fire. He ignored the warnings from traditionalists that altering the stone might trigger the curse in a new way. A famous diamond cutter from Amsterdam, Mr. Voorzanger, was brought to London to perform the task. A massive steam-powered cutting machine was built specifically for the Koh-i-Noor. The cutting process began in July 1852, and it took 38 days of intense, non-stop work. During the process, the diamond lost nearly 40% of its weight, shrinking from 186 carats to its current 105.6 carats. Prince Albert supervised the cutting, but tragedy was lurking just around the corner. Shortly after the diamond was finished and placed in a brooch for the Queen, Prince Albert's health began to decline. The man who had redesigned the diamond and shaped the modern British monarchy died at the young age of 42. Queen Victoria was devastated, spending the remaining 40 years of her life in mourning, dressed in black. While Victoria survived the curse as a woman, the man closest to her had paid the price. The British monarchy began to take the Indian legend very seriously from that point on. They realized that the curse specifically targeted the male who owns it. As long as the diamond was considered the property of the Queen, the empire remained stable. But the fear of the stone's power led to a strict tradition. The Koh-i-Noor was never to be placed on a king's crown. Queen Victoria left instructions in her will that the diamond should only ever be worn by a female sovereign or the wife of a king. In 1902, the diamond was set into the crown of Queen Alexandra, the wife of King Edward VII. In 1911, it was moved to the crown of Queen Mary for the coronation of King George V. In 1937, it was placed in the famous crown of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, for the coronation of King George VI. King George VI, like the male rulers before him, died relatively young at the age of 56. The diamond stayed on the head of his wife, the Queen Mother, who lived to be 101 years old. The contrast was clear. Women who wore the diamond lived long, stable lives. The man associated with it faced early graves or misfortune. Even as the British Empire began to decolonize and shrink, the diamond remained a symbol of the crown's endurance. But it also became a massive international controversy. India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and even the Taliban have all claimed ownership of the stone at different times. They argue that the diamond was stolen under duress and must be returned to its place of origin. The British government, however, has consistently refused, claiming the legal right of the Treaty of Lahore. The diamond now sits behind armored glass in the Tower of London, viewed by millions of tourists every year. It is guarded by the yeoman warders and protected by some of the most advanced security systems on Earth. But no security system can protect a man from a spiritual curse. When Queen Elizabeth II passed away in 2022, the question of the Koh-i-Noor returned to the headlines. Would King Charles III wear it? Would the curse be tested in the modern age of science and transparency? The palace knew that even in the 21st century, some legends are too dangerous to ignore. The decision made for the coronation of 2023 would confirm that the fear of the Koh-i-Noor is still very much alive. The mountain of light continues to shine, but its light remains a warning to any man who seeks to claim it. As the world entered the third decade of the 21st century, the most famous diamond on Earth faced its greatest modern test. The passing of Queen Elizabeth II in September 2022 signaled the end of an era and the beginning of a new, uncertain chapter for the British monarchy. Immediately, the global spotlight shifted from the funeral arrangements to the glittering contents of the royal vaults. The Koh-i-Noor, which had rested peacefully atop the Queen Mother's coffin in 2002, was suddenly a subject of intense diplomatic tension. For the first time in over 70 years, a man was ascending to the throne of the United Kingdom. King Charles III was now the sovereign, and according to the laws of property, the diamond belonged to him. However, the weight of the ancient prophecy loomed larger than the physical weight of the 105-carat stone. The palace advisors were faced with a dilemma: follow tradition and risk the curse, or avoid the diamond and face questions about legitimacy. Social media erupted with debates, and the hashtag #ReturnTheKoh-i-Noor began to trend across India and Southeast Asia. The Indian government made it clear that using the diamond in a modern coronation would bring back painful memories of the colonial era. But beyond the politics, there was the whispered fear of the male misfortune that had haunted every man from Nadir Shah to Maharaja Ranjit Singh. King Charles III, a man known for his interest in spirituality and the hidden forces of nature, was well aware of the stone's reputation. History had shown that the diamond did not care for modern skepticism. It had its own set of rules. If Charles chose to set the diamond in the St. Edward's crown or the imperial state crown, he would be the first king in nearly 200 years to do so. But as the planning for the May 2023 coronation progressed, a surprising announcement came from Buckingham Palace. The palace officially confirmed that the Koh-i-Noor would not be used in the coronation of King Charles or Queen Camilla. Instead, Queen Camilla would wear Queen Mary's crown, but the legendary diamond would be removed and replaced with crystals. This was a historic pivot, a moment where the British monarchy chose to retire its most famous gem from active service. While the official reason given was diplomatic sensitivity, historians and occultists knew better. The palace was not just avoiding a political scandal, they were avoiding a 700-year-old death sentence. By removing the stone, the king was acknowledging that the divine right of royalty was no match for the ancient curse of the diamond. The Koh-i-Noor remained in the jewel house of the Tower of London, locked behind steel and glass, silent and shimmering. But the mystery only deepened. If the diamond is too dangerous to wear, what is its ultimate purpose? Some believe the diamond acts as a battery of history, absorbing the energy of the dynasties it has destroyed. In the dark vaults of the tower, it is said that the diamond emits a faint, cold glow that cameras cannot fully capture. Psychics and sensitive visitors often report feeling a sudden drop in temperature or a sense of overwhelming dread when standing near its display. Is it possible that the diamond is not just a stone, but a sentient witness to human greed? The curse has always focused on men, perhaps because men were the ones who traditionally fought and killed for power. In the eyes of the diamond, the male ego is the catalyst for the misfortune the legend describes. By staying in the hands of women, the stone was kept by those who, historically, were seen as the nurturers rather than the conquerors. But in a modern world, where gender roles have evolved, does the curse still distinguish between a king and a queen? The palace wasn't willing to find out. The coronation of 2023 was the first Koh-i-Noor-free coronation in a century. This move sparked a new wave of questions. If the king won't wear it, should he give it back? The British government's stance remains firm. The diamond was acquired through a legal treaty and is part of the nation's heritage. But the legalities of 1849 do not hold much weight in the court of global public opinion in 2026. Activists argue that the diamond is blood diamond in its purest form, a trophy of war and humiliation. They claim that the curse will only be lifted when the stone returns to the soil of its birth. There are even legends in India that say the diamond will one day return itself by causing so much misfortune that its owners will beg to be rid of it. Has that moment finally arrived? Is the decision to remove it from the crown the first step towards its eventual repatriation? In the Tower of London, the yeoman warders continue to tell the story of the Mountain of Light to millions of curious tourists. They tell of the Persian shahs who were blinded and the Afghan kings who were poisoned. They tell of the little Maharaja Duleep Singh, who died a lonely man in a foreign land. And they tell of the English queens who wore it with grace, seemingly immune to its dark pull. The diamond sits there, a masterpiece of nature and a monster of history. It is a reminder that some things in this world are not meant to be possessed. The deadliness of the Koh-i-Noor is not in its sharp edges, but in the desire it ignites in the hearts of men. As long as men crave power, the diamond will remain the deadliest stone in history. The Mountain of Light has survived the Mughals, the Persians, the Afghans, and the British Empire. It has seen empires crumble while it remained unchanged, cold and brilliant. The question is no longer who owns the diamond, but who the diamond will outlive next. King Charles has made his choice, and for now the curse is held at bay. But the Koh-i-Noor is patient. It has all the time in the world. While historians debate the legends and diplomats argue over treaties, a different kind of mystery surrounds the Koh-i-Noor, the science of the stone itself. To the naked eye, it is a brilliant 105.6 carat diamond, but under the microscope, it tells a story of extreme geological violence. Most diamonds are formed 100 miles below the Earth's surface, but the Koh-i-Noor is believed to be a Type 2A diamond. Type 2A diamonds are the most chemically pure and have the most exceptional optical transparency. Only 1 to 2% of all natural diamonds in the world fall into this category. They contain almost no nitrogen atoms, which usually give diamonds a yellowish tint. Because of this purity, the Koh-i-Noor has a water-white clarity that makes it appear almost liquid in certain lights. But science also reveals that this diamond was born in a state of extreme tension. When light passes through the Koh-i-Noor, it behaves differently than it does in other gems. Some gemologists who have studied the stone under polarized light report strain patterns deep within its crystal lattice. These patterns are like the scars of the Earth, caused by the immense pressure of its formation billions of years ago. Some occult researchers believe these physical strain patterns are the scientific basis for the curse. They argue that the crystal acts as a storage device for electromagnetic energy, or perhaps human emotion. In the theory of lithotherapy or stone healing, diamonds are considered amplifiers of energy. If the person wearing the stone is filled with greed, anger, or fear, the diamond supposedly magnifies those traits until they lead to ruin. History shows that the male rulers who fought for the Koh-i-Noor were often driven by extreme ego and a lust for blood. If the diamond truly amplifies the internal state of its wearer, it explains why these men spiraled into madness and betrayal. But why would it not affect women in the same way? Some suggest that the hormonal differences between men and women play a role in how this amplified energy interacts with the human body. Testosterone-driven aggression combined with the diamond's high-frequency vibration might create a biological short circuit. On the other hand, the more stable energy often attributed to the female sovereigns provided a balance that prevented the short circuit from occurring. There is also the mystery of its luminescence. Under ultraviolet light, the Koh-i-Noor is said to give off a distinct blue glow. During the Victorian era, when it was first recut, observers noted that the stone seemed to breathe light. The diamond cutters of 1852 reported that the stone was unusually hard, much harder than other diamonds they had worked on. Mr. Vorsanger, the master cutter, nearly broke his steam-powered tools multiple times trying to penetrate its surface. It was as if the diamond was resisting being changed, holding on to its ancient Mughal shape. The process of recutting the diamond was so stressful that it was said to have physically aged those involved. Prince Albert, who obsessively watched the process every day, died shortly after the project was completed. Even the lead cutter was reported to have suffered from strange, vivid nightmares during the 38 days of cutting. Was the diamond bleeding its energy as it was being sliced into a modern shape? Despite being reduced by nearly half its weight, the diamond did not lose its presence. In fact, the recutting only served to focus its energy into a more concentrated form. When the diamond was finally set into the brooch for Queen Victoria, she reportedly felt a strange coolness against her skin. She wore it often, but she was always careful to follow the advice of her Indian advisors. They told her that the stone should never touch the bare skin of a man, especially a king. In the 20th century, when the diamond was being moved into the new Queen Mother's crown, the jewelers worked in total secrecy. They used specialized tools and worked in shifts to minimize their exposure to the stone's vibration. One jeweler later whispered that the stone felt heavy in a way that had nothing to do with its carats. It felt as though it was exerting a physical pull on the environment around it. Modern physics knows that large crystals can vibrate at specific frequencies. Could the Koh-i-Noor be vibrating at a frequency that interferes with the human neurological system? Studies on the effects of high-frequency vibration on human behavior suggest that prolonged exposure can cause anxiety, paranoia, and poor decision-making. For a king making life-and-death decisions for an empire, a slight shift in mental clarity could lead to a catastrophic war or a strategic mistake. This would explain the misfortune that followed every male ruler who kept the stone close to him. Women who historically wore the stone only for brief ceremonial occasions were not exposed long enough for the neurological interference to take hold. The decision of the British royal family to keep the diamond in the Tower of London is a scientific safety measure as much as a traditional one. Behind the thick glass and vacuum-sealed cases, the diamond's frequency is dampened. It sits there, a silent titan of light, isolated from the blood and heat of human bodies. But even from behind the glass, it continues to fascinate. Scientists have recently proposed using X-ray fluorescence to map the interior of the diamond without touching it. The palace has been hesitant, as if afraid of what the internal mapping might reveal. Is there something inside the Koh-i-Noor that shouldn't be there? Is it possible that the mountain of light is a geological anomaly that science cannot yet explain?
As we move into 2026, the intersection of ancient mysticism and modern physics is where the truth of the Koh-i-Noor lies. It is a diamond that defies the laws of luck and the rules of science. It is a diamond that has seen the birth of the scientific method and yet remains a mystery that science cannot solve. The red diamond blood history and the type 2A purity exist in a strange harmony within its facets. It remains the deadliest diamond in history because it is a mirror. It reflects the truth of whoever holds it. And for the kings of the past, that truth was too heavy to bear.
The journey of the Koh-i-Noor has reached a crossroads where the ghosts of the past meet the ethics of the future. In the year 2026, the Mountain of Light stands as the most controversial and feared object in the British Crown Jewels. We have seen its blood-soaked path from the Hindu temples of South India to the brutal Persian massacres and the Afghan civil wars. We have explored the male fortune that brought down empires and the scientific theories of neurological interference and crystal vibrations. But as the world changes, the question remains, can a curse ever be broken, or must it be outrun? The decision by King Charles III to exclude the diamond from his 2023 coronation was more than a headline, it was a surrender to the inevitable. By refusing to wear the stone, the British monarchy has admitted that some powers are beyond the control of a modern state. This retirement of the Koh-i-Noor has created a vacuum that is being filled by a growing global movement for its return. To the people of India, the diamond is not just a gem, it is a stolen piece of their national soul, a symbol of everything taken during the colonial era. To the British, it is a trust held for the nation, a jewel that represents the continuity and survival of the monarchy through the ages. But the curse acts as a third party in this negotiation, a silent judge that refuses to let the matter rest. Some historians argue that the curse itself is the diamond's way of demanding to go home. They point to the fact that the British Empire began its slow, inevitable decline almost immediately after the diamond arrived in London in 1850. Within less than a century of acquiring the Koh-i-Noor, the empire on which the sun never set had lost its jewel in the crown, India itself. If the diamond's energy is tied to the land of its birth, its presence in a foreign capital creates a spiritual imbalance. There is an old prophecy in Punjab that says the diamond will only be at peace when it is returned to the Golden Temple or its original shrine. Until then, it will continue to radiate an energy of discord, causing political tension and social divide. In the Tower of London, the display of the Koh-i-Noor has recently been updated to include its history of colonialism. The British authorities are trying to be transparent, but transparency does not satisfy a demand for justice. The diamond remains a lethal royal secret because its very existence challenges the legitimacy of modern collections. If the Koh-i-Noor is returned, what happens to the Elgin marbles, the Benin bronzes, or the thousands of other artifacts in Western museums? The Koh-i-Noor is the lead domino. If it falls, the entire structure of the world's greatest museums could collapse. This is the modern curse, not just of death and madness, but of a diplomatic nightmare that has no easy exit. But let us look at the stone one last time through the lens of those who believe in its mystical properties. Many believe that the Koh-i-Noor is a master stone, a geological anchor for the Earth's energy grid.
When such a stone is moved by force and blood, it creates a tear in the collective consciousness of the people it was taken from. The only way to heal that tear is through a sacred return, a voluntary act of giving back without expectation of reward. If a British king were to eventually return the stone to India, would the curse finally vanish? Or has the diamond become so saturated with the blood of 700 years that it can never be clean again? Some occultists warn that the diamond is now a vampire stone, feeding on the attention and awe of the millions who gaze at it. Every tourist who stands before its glass case in the Tower of London feeds the legend with their own energy of desire and envy. The diamond thrives on being the center of the world's attention, just as it was atop the peacock throne or the Queen Mother's coffin. It is a silent, brilliant predator that has mastered the art of survival. It has survived fire, war, earthquakes, and the invention of the nuclear bomb. It will likely survive the British monarchy, just as it survived the Mughals and the Sikhs. As we conclude this investigation into the deadliest diamond in history, we must realize that the Koh-i-Noor is a mirror. It reflects the greed of Nadir Shah, the ambition of Lord Dalhousie, and the caution of King Charles III. It reflects our own fascination with power, wealth, and the supernatural. The reason no king dares to wear it is because no man is truly ready to see his own soul reflected in its 105 facets. To wear the Koh-i-Noor is to accept the responsibility for all the blood spilled in its name, and in the 21st century, that is a burden no human head can support, no matter how heavy the crown. The mountain of light will remain in the shadows of the tower, a prisoner of its own brilliance. It will wait for the next turn of the wheel of history, for the next empire to rise, or for the day it finally returns to the dust of Golconda. Until then, it remains a warning. Some treasures are meant to be seen, but never possessed. The curse of the Koh-i-Noor is not a myth, it is a historical reality that has shaped the world we live in. It is the light that blinds, the beauty that kills, and the diamond that outlives everyone. The throne may be made of gold, but the diamond is made of eternity. And eternity, as every fallen king now knows, has no mercy for the pride of men. The story of the Koh-i-Noor is far from over. Its most dramatic chapters may still be unwritten. But for now, the king's head is safe, and the diamond's fire remains behind glass. The mountain of light continues to burn, silent, cold, and eternally deadly.